Civolution was on the BGG Hotness, but it has since fallen off, which makes this not a question of hype, but whether this game is even worth your time and attention. Civolution is a strategy dice placement game where you are going to be building up a civilization from scratch. The story? Dear student beings, I and the Cosmic Faculty of the Technical Academy of Creation warmly welcome you to your Civolution, the most important exam in the field of civilization design. For those who do not know me, my name is Agira, and as the directorial entity of this institution, I am responsible for conducting the exam. This time, we have chosen a humanoid-based scenario on a secluded continent. Each of you is assigned the role of a local deity, closely bound to your own civilization and tasked with leading it to success and competition with the others. The developmental possibilities are endless, ranging from cultural and technological progress to evolutionary biological adaptations. For example, what would advance your own civilization more, the invention of the wheel or growing wings? Prove that you can master the control of your console and that you can adapt to variable environmental parameters as well as various creation chaotic conditions. The exam ends after 4 eras. Whoever has gathered the most success points with their civilization by then will not only pass the exam but will also have the opportunity to ascend to the next level as a full member of the Technical Academy of Creation. I wish you all a successful Civolution. How will you go about growing this new civilization? Let's head to the rules rundown to find out. Come on. Civolution uses a dice placement action selection system down here on your main player board. What you see here is a game set up for 2 players with just a single player board since this game takes up so much space. Now to set up the game, you're going to start with your player board, which will already have everything you need placed over here with this very nice foldable system. Then you'll just have to take your tub that has all of your pieces, place those out on your board. You'll always start with 1 of each number on your dice, and then you will take 1 card from each of the different stacks here. Then you will have your 2 starting cards. The first one here being your starting markers, which tells you what resources you're going to start off with, what DNA you're going to start off with. And then, as far as I've seen, every starting marker has the same amount of food, money, focus, and ideas that you'll be able to start off with. And you'll see I already placed those out onto my player board. Then you will have your starting income card. You also have your first of many upgrades. You'll go ahead and flip that over till it's to its level 2 side on your board, as well as your starting goal chip, which you can place right over here. This card will then slide right here on your board for when the time comes to use that income. Now, this game has a really awesome walkthrough over here on this player board that shows you exactly how to go through each step of the game, which is so very helpful. This is a very mechanical game, very step by step. So the first step here is to reveal new cards, which we've already done from these stacks right here. As soon as you do that, you'll go ahead and slide down to the new goals. Then in player order, you'll take a gander over here, decide which, if any, of these gold chips you would like to take. You will then select one. Let's just go ahead and go with this guy. You would take that, and then you would refill that for the next round. So after you take your gold chip, place that in there, then we can go ahead and slide on down to the extra find. And at that point, you'll look out at where you have presence. Like here, I'm in the grasslands and a forest area. And then you will be able to gather 1 resource of any type that you can find in that area, not just ones that you see available. So after you get your extra find, you then get into the meat of the game, which is the action phase. Now how the action phase works is you're going to take turns selecting an action by taking 2 dice that you have here face up, matching those to any of these corresponding actions. Every single action requires you to use 2 of your available dice here on your board. For example, over here you've got your sleep. This one allows you to use any 2 dice, doesn't matter, in order to gain either 1 focus or 2 ideas. The focus is a marker that you can use as a wild die anywhere on your board. Your ideas allow you to manipulate those dice either up 1 or down 1. You'll notice down here that 6s can go to 1s and 1s can go into 6s. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility there, which is huge in this game. Let's get a little deeper into just a couple of these abilities. First of all, let's take a closer look at the hunting action. If you take that on your player board, you will then, assuming you have presence in a given location, for instance, we have presence here in this grassland, you could choose to hunt in this area by placing a hunt token here. Each area can only be hunted in once per round unless you have a card that says otherwise. So we're going to do the grassland. You will then take your pink fate die, roll that. In this case, I rolled a 4. So you'll look at this chart here. I rolled a 4 in the grassland. So I'll then get 3 food, which would then translate to being able to take 3 markers and add those to your food section. Now these fate die can be adjusted with your idea markers as well if you wanted. Here is the exploration action, which similarly you look for an area that you have presence in, and then you can look to see how many of these tiles are adjacent to your area here. And in this case, we have these 3 exploration tiles. You'll then be able to flip them over. And as you flip them over, a couple of things you're going to be looking at. First of all, you'll look up here. You'll look at how many points you get for discovering the tile. And then if there is any special action that will be taken, most of them will be things that affect different actions that you take if you are adjacent to it. So this one would get you 2 points. You'll have some tiles that you discover, such as this, get you 1 point, a building ground, which will allow you to place a statue there that will get you points throughout the game, or be able to place one of your cities down. So either of those options, building grounds can be very helpful for points, as everything is in this game. And there are many others. Some of these tiles will be negatives, such as a volcano that will take out your farms, or you'll have these wolves that could be in the area that will cause you to have to spend more food if you're adjacent to them. So you could discover any number of things when you're doing the exploration, but it is a great way to get a bunch of points in one action. Now we are working towards getting all of these resources and DNA in order to play some of these cards that you have in your hand. Now, in order to play these cards, you're going to have to pay resources. Now, you notice there are 5 tabs here, some that are blank, some that require different resources. And what you're looking at here is on your player board, you also have 5 levels. They call them stages. Depending on the stage in which you build these cards is going to determine what your resource is. For instance, if you're just building on stage 1, you would only look at this first stage and find out, oh, all I have to spend is this tar, and you can slide it into stage 1 by spending that tar. Assuming you had, in this case, this would be building a building, so you would need to spend the 4 and the 6 action in order to place that in there. Now, you do have to be mindful where you place these cards, because if you build one building card here, every other building card has to be built on top of that. So the next time you build a city card, it would have to go in stage 2. So you would then have to look at both of those resources. And so the next time, if I were building this on stage 2, I would have to spend 1 tar and 1 stone. Or in this instance, if I had 3 of my cities settlements out, then I wouldn't have to spend any of the resources. And some of them will require resources as well as DNA. You'll notice if it has the -1 here, you lose that resource. In this case, with the DNA, all you need is to have as many as is depicted. You will not lose that DNA. Now these down here, some of these will give you points depending on the stage that you place them. So if I put this on stage 4, I would have to have all of these DNA, spend these 2 resources, and then I would get 4 victory points. And you'll notice a lot of these will give you either bonuses that will last throughout the game or instant effects that allow you to do different things. And you'll just be placing these on your player board, which will give you points at the end of the game. You'll get more points for putting them on higher stages, as well as if you complete a row, you'll get special bonuses. That is very difficult to do in my experience with the game. Those are the actions that you're going to be taking. Eventually you're going to run out of dice to spend, and at that point you are going to have to take a rest. And during your rest phase, you'll just move down this track here, which will tell you to slide the marker to the next phase, move down, re-roll your dice, and see what you have to work with for the next round. And then as you slide down, you'll take this marker and it will either become an idea or a food. In this case, I'd probably put it as an idea. All right, and so that's your turn. That's the general idea of the action phase. You'll keep doing this, and as each person takes a rest, this will slowly move in a 2-player game. It'll stop right here. As soon as it hits here, you'll finish so that each player has had the same number of turns in the action phase, and then you'll slide down to the next phase here, which is the site phase, where you'll either get points for being adjacent to specific sites, or you'll have to spend the resources based on sites that you're next to. Then you'll slide down to the feeding phase, where you'll look out at your board, see how many folks you have out there. In this case, I have 2, and so I would have to spend 2 food in order to feed those folks. If I either didn't have the food or didn't want to, I could choose not to spend the food. In this case, maybe I spend 1 of my foods for maybe a specific scoring opportunity. Spend 1 food so he's healthy, he's weak, and the next time that happens and he doesn't get fed and they're in a weakened state, then they are lost. You do have some farm buildings though, if you're able to place a farm out. If you have one of your tribespeople in the same space as a farm, then you don't have to feed them. They're okay. The farm is taking care of that for you. After you feed your different tribe members, you will get points based on how many you have that are strong, aka those that are standing. After that, you will then go to the event phase, which should have been drawn at the beginning, so you're planning for it. You'll notice here that on the side, you'll have a sun, which tells you it's moving up. As it's in the middle area here, that'll generally be good. But as it gets hotter or colder, you'll eventually have different negative effects. These event phases will also give you some different achievements that you're looking for during the round. That'll get you points. Sometimes it'll be anybody. Sometimes it'll be whoever has the most with no ties will get boons for that. So that is the event phase. You'll take care of the weather indicator, then you'll resolve the event, which will be that bottom half of that card. Then you'll move on to scoring this era's scoring category, which is denoted over here. Each era will have a specific achievement that you're looking for that can get you a lot of points for achieving. This is moving up on the magnifying track. This right here is depending on how many different areas you have influence in. These are a couple more tracks, and so you just get points based off of achieving those. After you do that, whoever scores the most in that area will become the starting civilization, which will get you the starting marker. After you do the event phase, you go to the final phase of the era, and that is the income phase. Go ahead and get any of the income from any of the income chips that you have, score statues that you built, and you get points based on where you are on this track over here. You reset the hunter tokens from the board, re-equip your rest markers, or your reset, I should say, with new markers. And then you start all the way back over at the top. You do that 4 times, and the game will end, and you'll go to final scoring. Final scoring will see you working your way along this track here. You'll just start by seeing who has, however far up you've moved along this track, multiply that by the amount of points that you would get down here. You'll notice at the beginning of the game that 2 of these sections will be getting a bonus modifier, so they'll give you more points at the end of the game. And you'll just keep sliding along that track, keep getting your points based on each of these different items. And then once you get to the end here, you go down to your console, where you will score points based on where you have cards placed in the different stages, as well as any gold chips that you had achieved. And then you'll see some cards have end game bonus points on them based on this little gold symbol here. It's a very quick synopsis of Civolution, about as quick as you can go, getting a decent idea of how the game plays. There's some attribute chips that you can gather over here as a free action if you get enough DNA, some income chips that you get to add to your income phase if you're able to get settlements out, which also gets you points. There are just a lot of different actions to be taken, but that should give you a decent idea of how to play Civolution. Now that you have an idea of how to play this massive game of Civolution, let's get into the good, the bad, and the biblical. This is a segment where I tell you the things I liked about the game, things I didn't enjoy so much, as well as a parental guide of sorts where I tell you some things that might not be considered family friendly or Christ glorifying. We're going to get started with the good, and I always want to start out with the components. I love that aspect of gaming. And the components of this game are going to be a solid. Not great. They're definitely not taking away from the experience, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting and making this a smooth gameplay. I really believe the designers did an excellent job of this, looking at the game experience that they wanted to have, and they made sure the components were going to do a lot of the heavy lifting to make sure that it made sense, that it was going to be as simple as possible to set up, tear down, play with, and everything component-wise came together very nicely in that aspect, I believe. I really enjoy the stacking discs that they made, since you're going to be moving a lot along tracks, and instead of having just flat tops and bottoms, they actually had a little almost ball and socket joint that you'd be able to easily slide the pieces on top of each other so they wouldn't accidentally get knocked off of one another as you're moving them up and along the different tracks with each other. So I really enjoyed that. The iconography in this game is outstanding, especially if you watched the review last week for Covenant, the board game. That game was brutal with the UI. Civolution made everything so easy to understand with their different symbologies, which there is a lot of. The art I would put in the same category as the components. It's done well. It doesn't detract from the game, and in many instances helps the game, but it's not a game that I'm gonna be putting on my top 10 art of all time. I do really enjoy the 3D terrain that they made with the mountains. Just that little extra layer of cardboard adds to that terrestrial look out on the game board and just makes it pop. And then the boards for this game, this is takes up a lot of space, has a lot of boards, but man, those boards are packed full of information. And I'm just so impressed with the organization of the different information on the boards and how they packed all of that together without making it difficult to read. I never had a moment where I was like, oh, what was that? Where do I find this? That was hard to read. Never had that experience, especially in a game like this where there is so much information that you're taking in. Even on your player board, there's so many icons, so many different places that you can grab items from or build different buildings, but all of them made a ton of sense. But that is not what makes the game enjoyable. It helps, the components do, but the gameplay is what we're all here for. And the gameplay I thought was a fun one. I thought the gameplay gave you a lot of fun actions that were all enjoyable to take. There wasn't a single action that I would be like, man, I don't want to take that because it's dull. It's like there are some games where this is specifically what I'm going for. I don't have enough turns to take all the actions to be effective, so I'm just going to focus here this time. But I would enjoy going back to this game and choosing, I'm going to go heavy here if possible, heavy in this section if possible, because they all seemed very enjoyable. Going back to the boards a little bit like I was talking about, but in this instance the phase board, there are 8 phases to this game. It's very mechanical going through there, but they did an awesome job giving a nice cheat sheet board where they have a token that you place down on phase 1, knock out phase 1 real quick, slide it down to phase 2. So you're constantly moving that down, seeing exactly where you're at. Once you get to the action phase, it stays there for a while. It's the meat of the game, but it's perfect. It's easy to see where we're at along there, how many different resets do we have left before we're going to be out of here. And then again, they do just enough with the symbols and a little description of them to help you remember, oh yeah, that's what that does, very quickly at a glance. Most of those phases go by so quickly. It's just that action phase that really boosts the game time up. So that board is awesome, very helpful. Now, this being a dice placement game, I think they did a good job with the dice mitigation. Not great, just good in this game. We'll talk about that in a second. But I did find that for the most part, it was very easy to do the action that you wanted to because you were able to manipulate the dice enough. They did a good job with being able to set yourself up with enough focus or ideas in order to take the action that you're looking for. Now, in a game where you have so many actions to take, it can be difficult to focus. I do like the fact that they give you the objective tiles that allow you to be like, okay, that's where I'm going to go for right now, or the cards that you have in your hand give you a direction as to here's the resources that I need, or this card gives me this ability, so I should lean into doing that a lot more of this game. So that was helpful, as well as the end of era objectives where you get this many points for moving this far on the track. So okay, that's where I'm gonna lock in and do what I can to be able to get as many points from that as possible. And then the upgrading the actions felt good. I was a little nervous with there being so many. Are there gonna be enough actions to allow me to get these flipped over? And I found that there were. You could get a lot of them flipped over to level 2, quite a few even up to level 3, especially moving up the tracks if you are able to lean heavily into that. And there are a lot of different ways that you could get those upgraded, so I did really enjoy that. That's the gameplay. As far as the theming goes, it does devolve a little bit into an abstract game where the theme feels a little pasted on, but in a way where it makes sense what you're doing. The theme helps teach the game very well. It's like, oh, I need to migrate, which obviously this is Civilization, so that means moving. We're going to move to different regions. Or I'm exploring, so here's the tiles in the region that I'm in. It made sense what you're doing because it was a Civilization game. So it's kind of weird in that way where you just don't feel the theme while you're playing, but it just subconsciously makes the game make sense. Hey, thanks for watching this video here on Faith and Board Games. If you're enjoying the content that you are seeing, feel free to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. It's a free way for you to show support for the channel, and it just helps me be able to produce more of this content for you. Thanks once again for watching here on Faith and Board Games. Let's get back to the video. And that's going to do it for the good section. Let's get into the bad, some of the things I didn't enjoy so much. Some of that has to do with the components, where it's literally just so much to take in. And I will say, even a little bit on the component side, I was a little confusing trying to figure out where that double-sided tape was in the game. I thought I had thrown away for a second. Some of the player boards, they had to put all that double-sided tape on the different player boards, so that'll take a second for you when you first get this game. as well as the mountain terrain. You had to put some of that double-sided down and fold that over. So that was a little bit bothersome, but there's just so much going on in this game. So many cards, so many components and different places to put them. It's a lot to take in, and it takes up a lot of table space, to the point where the game even has in the rule book, okay, you're going to need this size table in order to get this thing down and played. So your little coffee table, not going to cut it for Civolution. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, back to the dice mitigation, why I say it's good, not great. One of the games my wife and I played, she just kind of got with the dice. And I was able to luckily get one of my action tiles upgraded that allowed me to get a ton of those ideas for one action. And so basically my starting action every turn was to go there, get a bunch of ideas, and then I would be able to basically do whatever I needed to during that round. Where my wife, she didn't get that. So even if she went there, she'd only get a few of those, and she was constantly rolling poorly based on the strategy that she was going for. So that can happen in this game, which is not fun over the course of 2 to 3 hours. Generally, that's going to balance itself out, but you just got to be aware that that is a possibility. This game is a game that can be learned over time, but heavy emphasis on over time. This is a game that you'll have to commit to if you're going to want to learn all the different actions, the different combos that work well, find that strategy that works for you. It's a commitment. You're looking at 2.5, 3 hours, depending on how quickly you're getting through those actions, getting through the different eras. So this is, I can't imagine playing this at 4 players, how long that would end up being. So that's something to know going into it for sure. Now, getting into the biblical, you heard it in the story overview. You are technically playing as a deity that is manipulating the board, manipulating these tribes, adding different adaptations to them, helping guide them as they're building or migrating, whatever that is. And that's where you've got your kind of computer board that you're doing your different actions on, making that work. So that's a little bit of the theme that's going on. If that's something you're not into, playing God, again, I would say that that's very much abstracted out. I don't feel that at all in this game, but again, if you're taking it at face value, taking it for what the game is, there is that. There is the evolution aspect to it, where you are putting adaptations on these humanoid figures, where you'll see cards that have them having beaks or a scorpion tail or different aspects like that. It's like spikes or turtle shell or something. I don't know. There's a lot of different cards like that where you're splicing DNA technically on your board in order to make these adaptations happen. So if that's a theme that you're not going to be into, this is not going to be a game for you. And that's going to do it for the good, the bad, and the biblical. Now we're going to head over to a quick faith lens moment, and then we'll head over to my final thoughts and rating after that. Civolution is the type of game that is going to overwhelm you with the amount of actions that you can take. Every turn, you are going to have a plethora of different pathways or opportunities, actions that are going to be flashing at you that look so fun, look so awesome to do. The challenge isn't one of opportunity, but of discernment. Scripture speaks directly into that tension in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse number 12, where the Bible says, "All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any." Specifically the first part of that verse, where all things are lawful for me. All of these actions you're taking are good and you're free to take them, but not all of them are expedient. Not all of them are worth your time at that moment. They're not going to help you as much as another action might. The fact is that not every choice is a good choice. And I'll even take that a step further, where not every good choice is the right choice. In this game, as in life, when you're trying to chase everything, that's going to lead you to inefficiency. Those that thrive are going to be those that find what is that perfect path for them, the perfect strategy that they need to accomplish their task, and they stick to that. Even when other flashy lights, other fun activities pop up that might try to distract you from that strategy that you're taking Jesus reminded us of this himself in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, where he reminds us to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things shall be added unto you. And in context, he's telling us, hey, don't worry so much about all of these different distractions in life, all these different worries that you have of like, hey, how am I going to be clothed? How am I going to be fed? It's like, hey, I'm going to take care of that. You focus on what's most important, and that is on growing my kingdom, on, like we talked about last week, on covenant, putting on Christ, putting on the army of God, being ready to fight against the devil and grow God's kingdom. And he says you do that, you focus on what's most important. All that other stuff, all that stuff that you find worrisome, all that stuff that you find fun, like finding time for your hobbies, for your family, or just getting a little you time, all that stuff is going to get added unto you if you focus on what's most important. Civolution helps remind us that scattered focus leads to inefficiency, leads to a lack of growth, to stagnation. Just like in faith, intentional priorities is what's going to lead to growth and success. The lesson here isn't to avoid good things, but it's to anchor your decisions on what is most important eternally. That's going to do it for today's Faith Lens. Let's head over to my final thoughts and ratings. So Civolution went on a journey itself. Similarly to my last review with Covenant, we started off not enjoying the game of Covenant so much, but it got better. Civolution unfortunately had the opposite effect, where we loved the first playthrough and we were excited to keep diving in, getting better, learning the game, being able to accomplish more. But we found that after each successive play, we kept having the same feeling of, I didn't quite get to do what I wanted to this game. I wasn't able to do as much as I would like. I want to build more cards. I want to actually get to those stage 4, stage 5 sections. I want to actually be able to complete objectives and get cards out. And it just seemed like, man, it wasn't happening. Even after several plays, we were still pretty stagnant in our abilities in the game and how far we were able to go. Even though we felt like we were getting more efficient, it just didn't seem like it was translating to the amount of points we were getting or the amount of progress we were seeing on our boards. So that was a little frustrating. And that's going to lead me to giving this game a 6 out of 10, one that I wish was higher. I was really looking forward to getting this game and trying it out. I love the idea of a civilization, and that hurts this game for me a little bit as well, where I didn't feel the theme at all. I really want to find a game that fits that niche for me, where I am starting this civilization from scratch. We're building up huts with sticks, but eventually we're going to learn how to get stone buildings and then eventually metal and then fire up off into space or something. That's what I'm looking for, and I just didn't find that in this game, so that was disappointing. The subsequent plays after the first one were disappointing, so that really has dropped my score of this game. But the fact that it is so well put together keeps it from being lower. Like, it's a very easy game to get into and understand just based on the rulebook and the setup, so it's a well done game for the experience that the designers were going for, I believe. And that leads into, if this game is not for me, who is it for? I believe this is a game for heavy gamers that love the branching paths, branching actions, and being able to upgrade those actions. I believe this is also a game for those that are willing to put in work in order to find the strategy that best fits their play style. And this is also a good game for those that don't enjoy player conflict. There's very little in this game, almost none. It's very close to a multiplayer solitaire in many ways. So if any of those descriptions fit you, I think this would be a great game for you to check out. And then on the flip side, who is this game not for? This is not going to work out very well for gamers that like the lighter end of the spectrum with the weight of the game. as well as those that want a little more interaction and also don't have the time to put in to a game that's going to suck up a large majority of your day if you're going to get this out to the table. Well, that's going to do it for my review of Civolution. Until next time, don't settle for the good choice, take the best choice, and stay awesome.